My dear SH students, very good morning and welcome to the lecture series session on nanoelectronics. In the last class, we have discussed some of the methods of producing nanoparticles. Today, we are going to discuss about the reduction methods through which the nanoparticles could be deposited upon material surfaces. Okay. So, what is meant by reduction method? Reduction method is exactly a chemical reaction method through which actually a gaining of hydrogen atoms or gain of actually we expend some oxygen atom and we actually gain some hydrogen atoms or we gain some electrons during the process of reaction. So such type of reduction techniques cause us to produce the metal particles and that can be deposited upon the surface of the material. So in this method, we employ chemical reduction techniques for the deposition of nanoparticles. Some metal compounds, example chlorides of metals, so say magnesium chloride or manganese oxide, like that, such materials, which can be reduced to elementary metallic nanopowder by the application of NaBeT3H, LiBeT3H and NaBH4. And what is NaBeT3H? That is sodium boro triethyl hydride. Sodium boro triethyl hydride. This is a reduction agent during reaction. Okay, when this is actually reacted with some metal chloride or metal oxide, then it will give out nanoparticles of the metal which can be deposited upon the material. Okay, then lithium boro triethyl hydride, that is LiBeT3H, and NaBH4. What is NaBH4? NaBH4 is actually sodium borohydride. Okay, sodium borohydride. and and this process, the process of reaction with this kind of reduction agents along with the chlorides of the metal causes to produce the nanoparticles. Okay, for example, here we have the M represents for metal and Et represents for ethane. The reaction can be written like this: MCl. X means that is either this two molecules or three molecules like or MCl2 like that. Okay, plus X 2X NaBeT3H. That is how many number of uh, ions of this no, molecules of this one will be reacting with this one. That is sodium borotriethyl hydride for this one, or MClX plus X NaBeT3H. X can be 2, 3 like that. Okay, that will give out the metal M plus the ions of this reaction that will be giving out 2 into NaCl, sodium chloride, isn't it? Then XBET3 and 2 XH2 atoms. This 2X may be either a 2, that is 2 into 4H2, that is 2H2 ions may be liberated during this reaction, so that this metal particles will be liberated upon the material surface. So this is the kind of reduction technique. You know what is oxidation and what is reduction. When oxygen is used for producing some oxide formation, then it is actually an oxidation process, isn't it? During the reaction, when one material is actually giving out hydrogen, or it is giving out, which is used for expanding for the production of some kind of metals like things, and by producing hydrogen ions, that is actually a reduction technique. So reduction means actually that reaction takes place and which produces that particular material as such. That is what is happening here. If you use magnesium oxide with the reaction of this one, or magnesium chloride with the reaction of this one, that will give the magnesium. Or if you use some aluminum, that, or if you use some copper oxide with the reaction, then that will give out copper, which is that will be copper particles that will be the nanoform that will be available upon the surface of the material over which that deposition has to be done. Okay, when the same metal chlorides are reduced in tetrahydrofuran, that is another reduction agent. So different kinds of reduction agents are there. When this metal chlorides are actually reacting with the tetrahydrofuran solution, then we can produce metal carbides. Just for an example, I have given here. Okay, So this is as far as the reduction methods are concerned. Now we will discuss about the self-assembly. What is meant by self-assembly? Self, self-assembly is a phenomenon that is usually found in heteroepitaxy. But you know what is meant by heteroepitaxy? What is heteroepitaxy? We have seen homoepitaxy, heteroepitaxy. What is heteroepitaxy? Heteroepitaxy means when we want to form a layer of nanofilm or a substrate of a wafer substrate, say silicon wafer substrate also, then we can have either the same material to be deposited upon that one or different materials to be deposited on. If the same material is deposited, that is homoepitaxy. With the epitaxial method, we can form layers, layer by layer with the homoepitaxy. That is what is called the homoepitaxy, because same layer of the film of the material is done. But if you are depositing some other material, that is different materials over a particular wafer substrate, then we can say that it is a heteroepitaxial method or it's a heteroepitaxy. And this self-assembly technique is actually involved in the process of heteroepitaxy, or this phenomenon is usually found in heteroepitaxy. So three-dimensional islands are formed with regularity on a substrate as shown in the figure. So here let us consider here this is three-dimensional that self-assembled or self-assembled material formation, and that is in the form of a quantum dot, which you can see this as a quantum dot. So this is three dimension, but actually this is formed due to self-assembly process. Okay. So here this is two-dimensional epitaxial layer formed. Roughening surface is the then three-dimensional islands are formed here like this. Okay. So this kind of formation is actually due to self-assembly process. So what is the self-assembly process? Then now we will see. Due to the free surface energies, that is substrate to vacuum, substrate to film, and film to vacuum. So in these three surfaces, surface energy is always there due to the contacts and due to the contacts of the surface together. So there, this surface energy which can occur, what are the two extremes which can occur due to the surface energy? The two extremes that can occur is actually the regular layer on layer growth. Either a layer on layer growth can be achieved and a cluster formation. Sometimes a layer by layer growth can be seen due to the surface energies occurred on the surface of the layers, or cluster is formed, a cluster of that formation of this particular material surface, that is cluster formation means actually the cluster of this cluster of islands means cluster of islands of deposition of the materials that is formed, and that is mainly due to this particular process what is called self-assembly. So what actually causes to have this self-assembly? In the case of a large lattice mismatch, you know what is meant by lattice and lattice mismatch. The film follows a layer on layer growth but develops greater and greater pressure. So usually in lattice mismatch actually when the material lattice structure is mismatched, then such cases the film which actually causes to produce due to the self-assembly, that has a layer by layer or layer on layer growth. There will be layer on layer growth, and which actually develops greater pressure with greater and greater pressure. So layer on layer growth may occur, and also with pressure that will be also occurring upon this cluster formation or this layer on layer growth. With sufficient film thickness, this film will form three-dimensional islands. When this layer by layer growth is taken place with certain thickness, which is when this layer by layer formation is done, this thickness will be gradually increased, isn't it? So upon sufficient thickness, this film will be having a three-dimensional island formation. That is in the form of a three-dimensional system, and that will be formed in the form of an island, which may be either a cluster formation or a layer on layer growth formation, and that ultimately gives a three-dimensional system, three-dimensional growth of islands actually. Okay, so it's a three-dimensional growth of islands. In the case of island formation, the atoms or molecules that are brought on the surface may do one of the three things. What are those three things? The small islands can continue to grow. Either the small island which produced may be continue to grow, which may migrate to other positions or evaporate, which can either continue to grow on the same cluster or which can migrate to other positions on the material wafer surface or which can evaporate. These three things can happen. Whenever this process is taking place, actually this process is taking place due to the chemical reduction techniques, and this chemical reduction techniques may evolve a layer by layer growth of the system or by cluster formation of islands. So this layer by layer growth of the system that actually causes to continue to grow, or it may migrate to some other position on the same wafer position, same wafer surface, or which can evaporate. So there is a critical size at which they become stable and no longer experience evaporation. So when this formation of cluster is done and layer by layer growth is done, at one critical size, that is I told you, this layer by layer formation or cluster formation causes to have a three-dimensional system like, isn't it? So in that particular three-dimensional system like that formation of clusters, there is a critical size at which they become very stable. So the surface in this cluster will become stable, or this layer by layer on layer growth of the system makes, that is actually the particle that actually is growing on the surface, that may take a size at which this particular system will become stable, and once it is stable there is no longer an evaporation occurs on the system. In the case of an island formation, so while making this kind of islands on the surface of the material, the atoms or molecules that are brought on the surface may do one of the three things. The atoms or molecules that are brought on the surface may do one of the three things. What are those three things? Which can adsorb and diffuse on the surface until they join or nucleate with another atom to form an island. So they can absorb. The adsorb എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതിശോഷണം അല്ലേ? They can adsorb and finally diffuse on the surface until they join with or nucleate with other atoms. They can join with other atoms of the material on the surface, so as to form an island, isn't it? They will be forming with another atom to form an island. That may cause us to form an island. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ആറ്റം മറ്റൊരു ആറ്റമായിട്ട് കൂടി യോജിച്ച് അങ്ങനെ ആ ഐലൻഡ് ഫോർമേഷൻ അത് കൂട്ടി കൂട്ടി അഗ്രിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ സാധ്യതയുണ്ട്. Then the atom they attach themselves to or aggregate into an existing island. അത് നിൽക്കുന്ന ഐലൻഡിൽ തന്നെ അതിൻ്റെ ലെയർ ബൈ ലെയർ ഫോർമേഷൻ കൊണ്ട് അത് അഗ്രിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് വലിയൊരു ലെയറായിട്ട് വരാനുള്ള ക്ലസ്റ്ററായി വരാനുള്ള സാധ്യതയുണ്ട് എക്സിസ്റ്റിംഗ് ഐലൻഡിൽ തന്നെ. Or adsorb and thereby leave the surface. Sometimes they adsorb, they get their effectiveness lost and leave the surface. That may also occur. അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെ വരുന്ന ആറ്റംസ് ഓർ മോളിക്യൂൾസിന് സർഫസ് എത്തുമ്പോൾ ഈ മൂന്ന് ക്വാളിറ്റീസ് ഉണ്ട്. They can adsorb and diffuse into the surface, diffuse the surface until they join or nucleate with other atoms to form the cluster or island. They attach themselves to aggregate and to the existing island. They can form the existing island to be grown layer by layer, and which can adsorb and thereby finally cause us to leave the surface. These three things may happen for the atom or nucleus which comes on the surface. Then what happens? The small islands can continue to grow. ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടാവുന്ന ചെറിയ ചെറിയ islands, the islands which are formed due to this continuous deposition of the particles due to the self-assembly of the material, can continue to grow, and or it can migrate to other positions or evaporate. Which can migrate to other positions and form an island there, or it can evaporate. So these three things may happen. So there is a critical size at which they become stable and no longer experience evaporation. I told you already, this size of the formation, the cluster formation, layer by layer growth or island formation, takes a critical size at which the evaporation which occurs on the surface that will be that, or there is no evaporation takes place, or the system becomes stable and this growth becomes, or the island which formed due to this particular formation of the island due to the particle deposition, and that is actually taking critical set if there is no evaporation takes place. Okay, so this kind of technique is what is called self-assembly technique, and this is also used for preparing what? Preparing self-assembly is used for preparing nanoparticles. Okay, nanoparticles. Okay, So these are all the that growth states which actually makes, and this is actually a self-assembled aluminum gallium arsenide or gallium arsenide. So aluminum gallium arsenide on gallium. So the base substrate is the gallium arsenide over with aluminum gallium arsenide. The aluminum gallium arsenide is actually formed in the form of islands here. See, this is a three-dimensional system, three-dimensional structure that will be formed. That will be formed upon the gallium arsenide surface, and this is the three-dimensional islands formed. Those three-dimensional islands formed here on the surface. Okay, that formation is actually taking in different steps. That is first, that is two-dimensional epitaxial layer is there. This is the epitaxial layer in the case of gallium arsenide. This is the gallium arsenide over which this deposition has to be done. Then the growth surface is taking place. Once the growth is taking place, there is a regular surface and roughening surface, a regular surface. The growth is occurring on the surface. And finally, when the self-assembly takes place, when the growth of this layer by layer formation and a cluster formation takes place upon the surface, that takes a three-dimensional system like this, a three-dimensional island. Three-dimensional system means actually the three-dimensional islands. It's not, we cannot say that it's a three-dimensional island. It's not a three-dimensional system as such. It's a three-dimensional island due to the self-assembly process which occurs on the surface, and that is the planar particle deposition actually happening upon the surface of the system. Okay, so another method of doing the same deposition of the nanoparticles is the thermal and ultrasonic decomposition. An example of the thermal decomposition, the starting material is iron pentacarbonyl, FeCO3 is considered. So iron pentacarbonyl is actually CFeCOH, CO5, that is the pentacarbonyl. And that is the that is what we say that is this is an iron pentacarbonyl means actually FeCO5. So this is actually an iron compound. We can say that this is an iron compound in which iron part is there, then carbon part is there. So iron carbon, which can be considered to be for deposition of material, so that is iron or whatever, for the decomposition, and this particular iron pentacarbonyl is used for the thermal and ultrasonic decomposition purpose. So just for an example, we have taken it as an example. It decomposes in a polymeric solution. For example, polybutadiene is a polymeric solution. So polymeric solution will be combined with this particular iron pentacarbonyl, and which reacts together, so which reacts with each other, so that produces iron particles of 7 to 8 nanometer diameter. So this is actually a thermal or ultrasonic decomposition in which this polymeric solution is a reaction agent. This reaction agent actually that causes to deposit iron particles. And this, what is this polymeric solution? The polybutadiene that will be reacting with the iron pentacarbonyl in order to liberate iron particles of 7 to 8 nanometer diameter. So it's an example. We have quoted an example. That's all. The material can also be decomposed as immersion in decaying by ultrasonic radiation. So the same decomposition can be done as an immersion in decaying by ultrasonic. So ultrasonic radiation can also be done for the material, resulting in small particle size roughly between 6 to 240 nanometers. So either you can use this polymeric solution for the deposition of the particles of the metal. So here the metal is iron. We have chosen iron as the material because we have used the iron pentacarbonyl, which is a compound which is used from which the iron is to be deposited. Iron particle is to be deposited upon the iron particle in nanoscale has to be deposited upon the surface of the material, isn't it? So the same thing can be done with the help of irradiation of ultrasonic rays, and that will cause to produce particles between 6 to 240 nanometers. Okay. Then the sol gel process. Sol gel process, of course, we have seen several times in nano layer formation, and that the same kind of technique can be used for that for the production of SiO2. SiO2 actually, the production of SiO2 is the best example for a sol gel reaction. So what is a sol and what is a gel? A sol, that is a hydrosol is a colloidal dispersion in liquid. Gels are formed out of sols due to condensation reactions as well as van der Waals forces or hydrogen bonds which let the particles further grow and cross-link. So sol and gel, these two things are to be first formed. Okay, sol is a hydrosol only and gels are formed out of sols due to condensation reaction as well as van der Waals forces. You know what is meant by van der Waals forces during reactions, isn't it? So, because you might have heard of this van der Waals forces during reactions uh, and actually the reactions and the hydrogen which may have bonded upon the structure which led the particles to grow further and cross-link. If the liquid phase of the gel is removed, if the liquid phase of the gel is removed, for example, evaporation in vacuum. So in that case, the liquid phase will be that can be removed by evaporation techniques, isn't it? So if that particular process taken place, that is the liquid phase of the gel is removed by evaporation techniques also in vacuum, then what is the solution which, or what is the material, what is the phase of material which we get, that is the zero gels. So this process causes to produce zero gels. Zero gels are obtained. After removing the solvents, the solid phase network exists which is known as aerogel. After removing the solvents, the solid phase network exists which is known as aerogel. So you should know what is meant by sol, what is meant by gel, and what is meant by xerogel, how it is formed. Xerogels are formed by evaporation taking place upon the system in order to remove the liquid phase of the system or liquid phase of the gel, isn't it? The system means here it is gel. So then xerogels are formed. So once the xerogels removing the solvents, what happens? The solid phase of network exists which is known as the aerogel. Once the solvents are removed, so once the solvents are removed, which actually causes to retain the solid phase of the network, and that is what is called the aerogel. Okay, the sol-gel transition controls the particle size and shape. Sol-gel process can be used to produce silicon oxide. So we have already discussed about this one a little bit. So how salt gel process can be used for SiO2. But it is it may be in your examination, of course, the question may be like this. Prepare briefly the preparation of silicon oxide through salt gel process. Then in that case, there are certain steps involved in the salt gel process that only you have to write. If you are asked to write the salt gel process in a very elaborated way, what is meant by salt gel process? Explain with 10 marks. Then the salt gel process, there are certain different processes like calcination and different types of such process takes place. And I have given very detailed note upon this salt gel process and the preparation of silicon oxide separately. Silicon oxide, if you are asked for silicon oxide, preparation of silicon oxide using salt gel process, then you can write down. And if it is asked for 5 marks, then you can write down the salt gel process for production of silicon oxide only. And if you are asked to explain the sol gel process with 10 marks and then explain briefly the production of SiO2 with 5 marks, that is 15 marks for the same question. In that case, of course, you have to write the whole sol gel process which I have given in the notebook. Of course, each and every points like what is meant by gel, what is sol, and how gels are formed, how it converts into aerogel, then like that, and what is each process with a small schematic diagram. I have given a small schematic diagram using different kinds of sol gels which actually makes to form gels and aerogels, and then finally that particular process, different process involved in that one. Okay, so in that case you have to write down that processes separately, and then after that you have to write down the different steps involved in the production of SiO2 using sol gel. So that we will discuss, and of course that has been discussed in your notebook in an elaborated way. You have to refer that one. Here all those things I didn't write down because the same thing going on, repeating, that will be making some kind of nuisance for you. That is why I didn't use that particular process continuously written and given, because the process is more or less same whether it is for nanofilm preparation or whether it is for SiO2 preparation also. Okay. The salt gel transition controls the particle size and shape. salt gel process can be used to produce silicon oxide. Then a catalyst acid or base is added to a solution of tetramethoxylane, TMOS, tetramethoxylane, water and methanol. Okay, a catalyst, that is whether it is acid or base, is added to what? Added to the solution of a tetramethoxylane, water and methanol. This leads to the formation of SiOH groups. Actually, when this is put together, a catalytic acid or base that is added to this tetramethoxylane and water and methanol, that will cause to make an SiOH group, that is silicon hydroxide and ഗ്രൂപ്പുകൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയെടുക്കുന്ന SiOH groups. Then from that one we can produce the SiO2. And what are the steps involved in that one? Hydrolysis of SiOMe. Me means here it is methyl. Me means it is methyl, isn't it? So that is representing here as methyl. So silicon oxide and usage of this methyl added together, then bonding of this SiOMe. Me means methyl, and this added together will give rise to the bonding of this bonding will lead to the formation of SiOH groups. So how SiOH groups can be produced by hydrolysis method of this one. So that is given here. So SiOH group. The reaction is actually given SiOMe4 plus 4H2O. SiOH4 plus, that actually this gives rise to, actually there is an arrow here. I missed this arrow here. An arrow is missed here. Okay. SiOMe4 plus 4H2O gives SiOH4 plus 4MEOH. Okay. So this is the basic equation, that basic reaction or chemical equation which actually causes to take place for the first step in the formation of in the salt gel process. Then what is step 2? Step 2 means further dehydration reduces the SiOH to SiO2, and further dehydration, once the this particular salt gel solution is actually causes to dehydrate further, that reduces to air reduction which happens, that actually causes to produce SiO2 gel, isn't it? So aging of the gel, during which polycondensation reaction continues until the gel transforms into a solid mass. So it takes about 7 days for that particular purpose. Aging of the gel. So aging means by taking some hours of or even days of time, the aging of the gel, during which polycondensation reaction continues. So polycondensation reaction continue and until the gel transforms to a, so in the salt gel process, the gel transforms into a solid mass, and that is actually taking place from 6 to 7 days it takes. Then what is step 4? In step 4, drying of the gel when water and other volatile liquids are removed. So drying of the gel when water and when it is becoming a solid mass, then the water content and other volatile liquids are to be removed from that particular gel, isn't it? The drying of the gel when water and other volatile liquids are removed from the gel network. So XiO2 gel is then formed. So in this process, the silicon oxide gel is formed. Okay. So after removing the water and other volatile liquids from the gel, it becomes gel due to the drying. Okay. During the reaction, the gel reaches a viscosity so low that it can be applied onto a refuge and distributed over the vapor. So under this condition, this particular pasty condition of the gel, which actually causes, which has got which is a very low viscosity. Viscous എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അറിയില്ല നിങ്ങൾക്ക്. സോ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള വെരി ലോ വിസ്കോസിറ്റിയിലുള്ള ഒരു പേസ്റ്റ് രൂപത്തിലുള്ള രീതിയിലായിരിക്കും ഈ ജെൽ അപ്പോൾ ഉണ്ടാകുക. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി അപ്ലൈഡ് ഓൺ ടു the surface, wafer surface, with the help of a refuge, that centrifuge, and not centrifuge. It is not a refuge. It is actually centrifuge. Okay, and that is actually applied onto a centrifuge. Centrifuge means a system which actually causes to produce centrifugal force through which this particular pasty gel can be applied upon the surface of the wafer. due to the centrifugal force. That is why it's called centrifuge. So centrifuge is actually an arrangement or a processing arrangement that can apply this gel, paste type gel upon the distributed surface, and that can be distributed over the surface of the wafer. Okay, that is the centrifuge action. Then what is the step 5? Dehydration, during which surface bound MEOH groups are removed. Okay, dehydration during which the surface bound Me and OH groups. So it is Me means methanol and oxide, hydroxide. These groups are removed due to the dehydration. That is stabilizing the gel against the rehydration. So again, the dehydration or rehydration occurs at a temperature of 800 degrees centigrade, and that actually causes to this dehydration actually causes which surface bound Me and OH groups which are removed. So that actually causes to remove this Me and OH groups upon the gel surface or gel. Then densification and decomposition of the gels at high temperatures, that is above 800 degrees centigrade. So after this process, a densification and decomposition of the gels takes place at a very high temperature, that is well above 800 degrees centigrade. That is at that particular time when the annealing, that is what is called the annealing process. So annealing process is actually the process of making the surface uniform. So this kind of gel that is applied upon the surface is to be made uniform. So uniform layer, isn't it? So that is what is called the annealing process, and that is usually taking place at a temperature of 800 degrees centigrade, so that homogeneous oxide can be manufactured. So this SiO2 that is to be applied upon the surface should be homogeneous and with uniform coating of the silicon oxide. So you know what is the purpose of silicon oxide in electronics? Actually, silicon oxide is used as a oxide layer for the manufacture of MOSFET, isn't it? It is a gate oxide material, a very highly dielectric material. Okay, so that this kind of process are being done for the production of SiO2 using sol-gel process. So after this annealing, what happens? At moderate and low solidification temperatures, the procedure delivers nanocomposites. At moderate and low solidification temperatures. So after this annealing process is over, almost all the water content and most of the methanol OH contents are removed. This annealing takes place and densification of the surface takes place. That is the gel actually takes that is densified and decomposition of the gels at high temperatures. That is what is called the annealing process. That takes place for a homogeneous oxide formation upon the surface. Okay. So at this low solidification temperatures, this procedure delivers to nanocomposites. Under these conditions, the solidification of this material oxide occurs at the surface, and we say that, or we can see that the surface is delivered with nanocomposite, or the material with particles of size of nanometric scale. Okay, the particles of nanomaterials which are of the order of size of nanometers. Okay, by definition, nanocomposite contains nanoparticles less than 1000 nanometers in a host matrix. Okay, that is for just an example. I have given this particular size. That is, by definition, nanocomposite means actually it contains nanoparticles of less than 1000 nanometers usually. Okay, then this is actually the sol gel process. All these 6 steps makes the silicon oxide possible, which will be available upon the surface of the wafer. So this is the process involved in the process of silicon oxide using sol gel process, and the detailed notes is available on the Moodle, and you can just go through it and you can learn these steps one by one. Of course, the note is prepared somewhat in a very easier manner, and in that particular note you can just understand each of the steps very clearly compared to the explanation which I have given here now. Okay, but these are all the important steps involved in the preparation of SiO2 using sol gel process. Okay, now we will go to the next process, that is the low pressure, low temperature plasma. This is actually a method which uses RF plasma device. Okay, this is a method which actually causes to produce nanoparticles using RF plasma device. So what is this one? A conventional capacitively coupled RF plasma device, and that is used for the preparation of nanoparticles. A gas, for example, xylene. We have already heard of this particular gas, xylene gas, that is let in a pressure of 1 to 200 Pascal. An inert gas is ionized by the applied field. The electrons acquire kinetic energy. That these are all we know very clearly already, because every plasma device in which there will be inert gas which can be ionized by the applied field or by the help of some kind of lasers or such type of devices. So here we can use the inert gas which can be ionized with the help of applied electric field. The electrons acquire, in that case what happens, due to the application of the field, the electrons acquire kinetic energy, and which in turn causes to ionize the neutral molecules of selene upon impact. So upon the material, upon the selene material, which ionizes due to the that 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 very which causes kinetic energy, and that actually causes to uh, ionize and neutral molecules of the selene, and that due to the impact of this one, isn't it? So when electrons acquire kinetic energy due to the application of electric field, that will cause us to impact upon the other electrons or ions, which actually makes ions, which of neutral molecules of the selene. And that neutral molecules of selene, that dissociation of the selene happens after impact with the electron of high energy. So dissociation means in which this selene is decomposed into its different materials, isn't it? So this selene decomposes different materials that actually causes to produce SiO2. This ions forms the nanoparticles. Actually, this dissociation of the selene actually causes to produce the nanoparticles of SiO2. Okay, SiO2 like. Or the nanoparticles of, if it is an SiO2, why I have given here SiO2? Because if we consider SiO2 as the material to be deposited, if there are some other material to be deposited, means that material ion particles will be deposited upon the material surfaces. That is the idea. Okay, it doesn't mean that it is used only for SiO2 or anything. No, it is not like that. The dissociation of selene actually causes to produce the material particle that is disassociated with the application of the electric field or upon some laser or something such type of arrangements to make the electrons impacting upon each other, that actually causes to have the kinetic energy for this electron that ionize neutral molecules of the selene. Selene is used as an example here, how the selene which will be giving out the material that can be applied upon the that will be producing nanoparticles to deposit upon the material. Okay, so we have already seen selene and its reactions in the production of oxidation, such oxidation process, wet oxidation, dry oxidation, such processes, isn't it? So the same thing, we just go through that one and understand all these things. Okay, this is actually the production of nanoparticles, and here uh, the ions of the material that form in nanometric range, that is as nanoparticles, is it can be deposited upon the material. Okay. So atom optics is another important thing. An atom beam which is produced by heating up a material in a crucible is taken into consideration. So how can we produce an atom optics or atom beam? Atom beam can be produced by heating up a material in a crucible. The beam is bundled by one or more apertures and steered onto a substrate. Actually, an atom beam is produced just similar to the atom beam we have already seen in the case of gas condensation or such type of condensation techniques we have seen. So this atom beam, which is produced by heating up material which is in a crucible. So when the crucible, these materials, when it is irradiated or when it is irradiated with a laser, or it is when it is applied, when it is when this particular material is irradiated, or when it is heated up, when this material, the crucible is heated up, which actually causes to produce actually what? Which actually produces to form the atom beam, or in the form of a gas form, or a plume, or a vapor form, which produces a vapor form. And this beam is bundled one by one, or one by or more apertures, and steered down to a substrate. And this particular beam, what beam? This beam produced by atom, and that is actually the atom beam, that can be directed upon a, or steered upon means directed upon a substrate, or which this particular material has to be deposited. The beam is subjected to the dipole force of a standing wave, which is produced by a laser beam. The beam is subject to a dipole forces of a standing wave, which is produced by a laser beam. Could you understand this one? It means that the beam can be controlled either horizontally or vertically. That is the idea. The beam is subjected to dipole forces, means it can be controlled by both horizontally and vertically with the dipole force of standing wave. Standing wave means standing wave, electron wave, which is produced by laser beam. That is actually produced by a laser beam. The atoms will deviate to the nodes of the standing wave, where they are subjected to the smallest forces. A lattice pattern reflecting the wavelength of the laser is produced. A lattice pattern reflecting the wavelength of the laser is produced. Okay. A second standing wave may be used perpendicularly. That is, one is for the horizontal variation, another is for the vertical variation. The second standing wave, which may be used perpendicular to the first and to the direction of the beam, for a two-dimensional pattern of the deposited atom. So that a two-dimensional pattern of the deposited atom could be seen upon the surface of the material. Okay. So this is the crucible, or the material where this particular material has been kept, and where this particular material is radiated with laser, or by heating it with some heating arrangement, induction coil, or heating arrangement. Okay, heating arrangement or so. So that actually causes to produce atom beam like this. And this atom beam, that is actually, this is a collimation aperture, and collimation is actually directing this beam through this aperture as a collimating beam. This is now considered as a collimating beam. This is atom beam. Okay, so this area through which this beam is actually passing through is actually evacuated, and this process is taken place under a particular pressure usually, and of course at a very low pressure, usually at a very low pressure. That is shown here. That is a vacuum pump is shown here, and this is the orifice through which the beam is allowed to pass through. Okay, this is the reaction chamber where this particular deposition of the material is taken place. So this is the lens arrangements for with a standing wave. So this is the deposited lines, actually how the deposition has been done. So this is the movement of atoms, or the movement of atoms along the beam, and this is the laser, which actually causes to make it horizontally and vertically. So that is standing waves. This is actually the standing wave that is actually produced, and that actually crosses to me. This is from one side, and this for another side, so that both horizontally and vertically the that optical, that is this atom beam can be controlled well with it. Okay, so that is as far as the that atom optics is concerned. And that this will also cause to produce or deposit materials on two-dimensional pattern. Okay, that can produce, or that can actually use, for this method can be used for the production of nanoparticles. and a two-dimensional pattern of the deposit atom. Actually, this deposit atom's two-dimensional deposition can be seen. Okay, so that is atom optics and what are the possible um, deposition of material which can be seen in two-dimensional pattern. So that is atom optics. Okay, with this we conclude our lessons here now. So the next class we will discuss about the precipitation of quantum dots. Okay, precipitation of quantum dots. Thank you very much for your participation and patient listening of the session. Okay.